Alright, making a video. Yeah, what the hell. Been a little while. Yeah, I've been thinking. This is sort of on the same subject as, like I said, there's interesting parallels between, this philosophical argument about getting real, diagnosing our circumstance correctly and accurately prescribing solution, and this challenge I'm making to the established model of physics. The idea of relativity. Not that Einstein, I don't want to get into that conversation, but yeah, it's just a misidentification. Almost a semantical mislabeling of the mechanism, but it's sort of very fundamentally important. So anyway, this idea of reality, objective reality, anti-Kantavad. So anyway, I will point out that Logic Rolls the Dice guy, who's, a nice guy. It's good to see the youth thinking constructively. So I'll post a link to his video. He did a response, and he made the technical, logical argument, about, that you can't even make a statement about objective reality, which to some extent you're conceding the functionality of our language already. You're already conceding the meaning of these words, and by doing that you've made a commitment to a certain level of logic. So that's sort of what he's saying. But there's these traps, like non-contradiction, certain rules of vocabulary. Okay, basically they're not even rules of logic, they're just rules of vocabulary. Of categories. You can't put something in a category that doesn't fit the properties of the category. That's just that's illogical. It's irrational. So again, once you've used these words, you've already established a portion of reality, the context of a conversation. And I guess I would argue that that's all you're really trying to do. You don't do logic on reality. You do logic on models of reality. You accept a certain rules of the formation, the structure, like engineers. You accept gravity. You accept certain strength of materials. You know that steel can do this and wood can do that, and it can take this load if placed in this way, and that certain geometric shapes have certain properties. So you acquire this accepted model of reality, and then you just apply it to creation, and what's possible and what's impossible becomes easy to describe and define. You can say why something won't work, why this part of this description of reality wouldn't fit with the model. So in these conversations, there needs to be some sort of acceptance that let's just accept some basic rules, okay? That our brains do function correctly. We are sensing reality, and that the evidence we've gleaned from the environment is not fake evidence or phony evidence, that it's real evidence, that this is what took place in this universe, is that the earth evolved and then life evolved, and that there were certain rules to that evolution that led to our existence, and that we can understand that fables and silly models, just absolutely preposterous models of reality that have gods in them and things, that these were invented by primitives thousands of years ago. So it's hearsay evidence that's 2,000 years old, and all there is since then is 20 or 30 or 40 generations of faith. And we see it. We see the faith every day operating. They don't have any new evidence of God. They don't have anything whatsoever. They're just taking it on faith. A silly notion in itself. So there's no contesting reality here. There's evolution. There's recognizing the biological function, that we're desire machines. This is reality. This is an accurate description of reality. And these people that contend we don't have the evidence to make accurate descriptions of our reality, it's just a dodge. It's escapism. You might as well be a thoughtaholic, a deludaholic. Living in delusions, lies. You're not tough enough to take it straight. You have to put baby goop on your reality. That's all this is. It's baby goop.
Is there an objective reality? Possibly.
Possibly. So how did you assess the possibility of that? By what rational equation? By what thought? By what model? How did you construct a model to come up with possibly as an answer? Why wasn't impossibly the answer? You know, so it's just silly.
Is there an objective way to see it?
Objective. Let's see what he says to that.
Not likely.
Not likely. How did you assess that? Not likely. How did you come up with a not likely for our brain being able to do objective reasoning? So every single thing we look at, we get horny for it, or hungry for it, or have a personal preference on it. So we're not capable. Let's say that we don't find homosexuality at all interesting, not attractive at all, not pretty, not anything in our, by that standard at all. We can't objectively understand that it's just a physical sexual behavior, and that other people can certainly enjoy it and derive great pleasure through their expression. We can't figure that out. We can't make some sort of objective statements about homosexuality or anything, blackbirds or bluebirds or green birds. We can't objectively describe what they are, without in some way a bias being imposed on it. There's no clinical description suitable for modeling. We can't talk about its history or its ancestry or its function and all those things. If we talked about its function, if we talked about how a car, the mechanics of the engine work, and how the friction on the rubber and the tires and how the whole thing makes it work, and how it gains a certain efficiency in how much movement you get per gallon and weight distributions and all that stuff. We can't do any of that science objectively, rationally, logically, sensibly, accurately. Of course we can. Of course we can.
Is there an objective way to describe it? Not likely.
Oh, how did you assess that again? So we don't have enough vocabulary. Our vocabulary is a little bit sloppy, but frankly, there's enough words there. Once you have stop and go, up, down, hot, cold. Once you got a certain minimum structure of words, even if you have to say things with more words, you still should be able to say it. You can even make up words. There's no law against it. I do it all the time. It really is possible to do that if you have to. So it's the big deal. No, there's no real problem there. So again, how do you assess that this can't be done? That we somehow don't have the language to describe the actuality of 4 billion years of evolution? We don't have vocabulary sufficient to describe what took place for those 4 billion years? I think we do.
As for logic, logic is a tool of our creation.
That's just nonsense, right? Logic is something that exists. It's imposed. It's something you discover. You discover relationships. And relationships create a narrowing of possibilities and probabilities. So it's almost like a trial. Evidence convicts the person. Okay? It's not like you convict the person. No, the evidence convicts the person. And that's what happens in logic. Logic is something you discover. You discover relationship, and relationships create bindings of the model. So once you understand a relationship, you put it in the model. And now when you run the model, when you test the model, its performance is going to be dictated because there's a logical consequence. The logical consequence becomes apparent. There's a logical consequence because 2 plus 2 equaling 4 has a logical consequence. So once you discover the formula, pi, the relationship between diameter and circumference, once you establish this relationship, it's going to completely own the model. It's going to completely control what you can extrapolate reasonably. And so you're not going to be, you're not making that up. It's not something we invented. It's something we reveal that exists in the world. The relationships, the logical relationships exist in the world. We merely reveal them. We discover them.
Remember, it's a tool.
Again, that's, facts are a tool. Evidence is a tool. That's what he's saying here. Clearly not. Clearly it's a tool in the sense that there's a progression, that there's a dependency. Knowledge begets knowledge. Information begets information. That there is a linear requirement. You have to build everything on top of something else. But there is no tool like you are able to cut reality up with it, or you're able to make reality with it. All you're able to do is reveal truth with it. You can't create truth with it.
It is our...
I mean, if you're doing logic, you can't get it wrong. There's really no... It's very hard to get a wrong answer if you're doing logic, because logic, the basic rule is no contradictions and no reasonable alternative theory. So, I mean, if you obey those two simple rules, don't contradict, don't commit category errors, there's no reasonable alternative theory of the model can't do anything else. There's no other possible reasonable scenario for the outcome. Then you've done your job.
Servant. It should never be our master.
So, again, what does that mean? I'm just saying for people who are listening to this, what does that mean? What should be our master? If evidence and facts and reasonable interpretation isn't going to be our master, then what should be? Desire, self-interest, greed, gluttony, piggery, stupidity, ignorance. Ignorance should be our master, not the intelligence gleaned through logical development of understanding. And it is logical development of understanding. As soon as you put premises into the model will start working and reveal new categories and new properties. And you'll learn and learn and learn and learn as the model runs. More and more facts will be gleaned. More and more information will be gained. So he's just basically anti-intelligence. Intelligence, intellect, reason, thoughtfulness, knowledge, evidence, facts. These are all obnoxious things from his psychotic. He is psychotic. Yeah, this is a psychotic motherfucker. What is this? Again, this is baby talk. Let's evade responsibility, pretend we don't know better, pretend we don't know anything, and just to find an excuse to accept the unacceptable, accept insufficiency, accept inefficiency, accept below standard, below grade, accept not good enough. That's all this is rationalizations and excuses to accept poor performance. With a glib smile. So, yeah, just an insidiously awful, monstrous, hard individual. Yeah, it's just not much to say. I'll click on the comments just to see if there's anything here, if any use or value or anything like that. Let's see, are you sure? I am sure, no. I'm not even sure of that, however. Ha ha ha. So he's not even sure that he's not sure. So again, we're sitting here in this reality. It all seems quite sure to me. Seems quite certain and real. And it really doesn't matter, even if it was a contrivance of some kind, you'd have to concede it is such a thoroughly perfect, in terms of its, there's no loopholes, there's no errors. Okay, I mean, they've even got this speed of light thing that we can't even escape. We can't, all these little, it's just so well written, this script of bullshit, that you'd have to concede it just doesn't matter. I mean, if it's a contrivance, it's one hell of a contrivance. So anyway, it's just horrid. Even if you are a skeptic, you cannot use this as an excuse to defend your own wishful thinking either. Not saying you are. Well, you might as well say that he is, because there's no other rational explanation. Why else would you say something as preposterous as this? There is no evidence, there is no reason, there is no logic. Yeah, why would you say that unless you're looking for an excuse to be illogical, unreasonable, or basically just one hell of a son of a bitch? This has little to do with solecism. What I refer to is the bifurcation of concepts that we have invented to serve our needs. So again, it's this perception that we're abusing reason by deducing evolution. That we're doing that to serve our needs. It was to serve our needs that Charles Darwin contrived that nonsense of evolution, or that Freud studied psychology, or that anybody did anything. It was always by some perversion of some self-service, and it was all lying for that purpose. It's all science is just lies for some self-serving purpose. I don't agree that physics has gotten that way. Seeing concepts, logic, identity, excluded middle, etc., for what they are. Concepts. Well, yeah, gee. Let's just mock every single vocabulary word except yours, right? That's all he's doing here, right? So all the words that actually mean something, like category and property and concept, oh, they're bullshit words. Words that mean something are desire and freedom. It's not solecism. It is critical thinking. I mean, critical. How can it possibly be critical when you are applying when you are breaking the most functional critical element, which is evidence? You can't really do critical judgment or critical analysis if you're denying evidence. Evidence is the way you do it. Amazing. Let's see, that guy who pluseted your post is a fucking lunatic, and I seriously need to block him, but I really don't understand the logical absolutes. Our application of logic isn't the same thing as the three classical laws. Well, I don't know what that means, but who cares? Let's see, who needs logic or judges or anything else to make reality objective? I don't know why that comment doesn't make any sense. Okay, from this other guy. These are probably all people I hate anyway. Medieval theology minus God equals antinatalism. David Banjar is straight up theology. I mean, really. Yeah, it's just so fucking idiotic. There's nothing else you can really say to it. The evidence of God in, or any kind of theology, like a deology. I mean, what could possibly, if it's not talking about God, how could it possibly be a theology? I haven't been here for a while, thanks. I don't know what that means. I agree. I don't know what that means. But anyway, just horrid. Horrid, awful, horrid. Jeez, people are just so stupid. So I could do some of the the more crappy physics comments, but I don't know if I'll be bothered. I'll just deal with them in a physics video. So I've written up some new stuff. I'm going to pattern it after Einstein's, the way he presented his what's the word they use? Postulates? Yeah, postulates. Postulates of absolute universality. Yeah, I like it. No, I'll give you some of this stuff. The universe is made of two fundamental elements: a vast nothing and energetic quanta moving the speed of light. I like that. So there's only two things. It's little tiny stuff moving the speed of light, and you are made up of a bunch of that stuff caught in patterns, spinning around in circles. And nothing. That's the only two things there are. All matter or mass is comprised entirely of energetic quanta trapped in circular, perhaps perpetually redundant, patterns of light speed movement. That's what I just said, basically. Yeah. Photons can be considered a form of energetic quanta, as they possess the fundamental native property of straight-line momentum at the speed of light. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I got do some more work on this. But yeah, trying to think of the, I've been working on the, you really do need a, what all that matter really does is it provides a mechanism that allows photons to interact with photons. Because in nature, it doesn't happen. Photons kinetically just go through each other. And so somehow, the formation of matter, the circularity of movement, creates the opportunity for photons to interact with each other in something other than a kinetic way. And what happens is their angular momentum is changed. So they go in this direction and they come out that direction with no, lossless, with no loss of energy. So just like, asteroids going through the orbit of a planet and shooting out again in a different direction. It's, a free change of direction. And basically that's what matter provides there, an opportunity to have take place, is this free change of direction. And so it's really just about changes in direction. Everything is just built on that simple idea that it's just stuff moving the speed of light, and the stuff that we notice, the complexity, is just made out of stuff being changed in its direction, and creating a delay in its movement called time. It uses time by using distance, by eating distance without traveling any distance, something like that. But anyway, it is just give you a perspective. It makes when you start thinking about it, and just how this is all just so, it does all break down to just dominoes or Legos, or so it's very simple at its core, and that it's just this condensation, and just the aging of the condensate, and that with time it can get very, very complicated and get very elaborate. Not better, just elaborate. Very, very bizarre. But anyway, so that's something that really, the important thing is to figure out how this, how electrons provide the opportunity for non-kinetic transfers of energy between photons. It's also understanding the photon energy levels is a little bit weird. See, I wrote down here, wavelength and frequency are a manifestation of period, impacts per a period of time. So we certainly know that wavelength and frequency are the same thing. And the frequency has to do with energy level. Frequency equals force, essentially. But that it's hard to understand whether that's quantized, because obviously, radio waves are very long, and cosmic rays are very short, and so it gives you the impression that the cosmic ray is weaker. But the truth is that more of them can function in a period of time. But is that the only element to their higher energy? Is a single photon of ultraviolet light fundamentally have more energy in it than a photon of red light. That's the thing to figure out. And if so, why? Why? What's the difference? I mean, all this stuff, let's say, is the same stuff, and the thing to figure out is whether there's more quanta in it, or whether it's just the way the quanta is arranged. So anyway, so anyway, that's the part I've been working out. But energy transfers between free photons is purely kinetic. You know, meaning it's like the metal balls. It really is Newtonian physics for free photons. And it's only when photons are caught up in these electrons that something more than just kinetic happens. It seems like it's something more. Maybe it isn't, but it seems like it would need to be for it to create this change in direction. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, enough of that. Moving on. But again, yeah, people are griping at me because I have to provide math or do this or do that. It's just like this logic thing. I just have to create the framework of a model. And once the framework of the model exists, you can test it. And so, yeah, give me a formula that's incompatible with my model, and I'll deal with that. But I don't have any real obligation to give you a formula that I don't think is necessary. I don't think I have an obligation to provide formulas beyond those relevant to what's been observed as evidence, and to say, look, the model works, it's consistent with the evidence. That's my obligation. Anyway, and I think I've done that with the gravity part. And I will do that with the mathematics part. And it's going to get tricky with the energy part because I'm not sure about this whole notion of charge. It seems like one of these words like wave. You know, that I don't think so. No. Anyway. So, till next time. And such. Yeah, probably in physics video next. Or something like that. On the Draft Science channel, where appropriate. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I need to respond to, actually. I mean, there's just this single argument they just keep belching, as if I have to provide formulas demonstrating that, matter is made out of actual energy. You know, and it's just kind of funny, right? Because, they talk about the speed of light. They talk about matter possibly moving the speed of light. And these are scientists who all admit that electrons are moving in atoms. Now, they would concede that your matter right now has a whole bunch of moving electrons, and that these electrons are moving, some of them very, very fast. Maybe not the speed of light, but very close, perhaps, to the speed of light. And yet, it doesn't occur to them to explain how those electrons could be moving already and then also move the speed of light in a direction. And they don't seem to have any obligation to explain to you how would it be possible for them to be moving and then move the speed of light also. Because wouldn't at some point in their movement, in some point in their orbit, in their spin, they would have to be going in the same direction as the movement, the speed of light? I mean, as just a classical model, you could just say, what were they thinking? How could it possibly be possible for the matter to move the speed of light when some of its parts are already moving the speed of light? All I'm doing is extending that to say, look, we already know the electron's moving very fast. I'm saying simply that the stuff making up the electrons are already moving the speed of light, and so you have to account for that speed when you propose that you are intending to move matter some preposterously fast speed. I think current physics is has catastrophic paradoxes in it, and that would be one of them. It's a catastrophic paradox to talk about something moving 80% the speed of light or something like that, like matter, when its electrons are already moving 80% the speed of light. It's preposterous. Anyway, till next time.